Have you ever really thought about what separates someone who's just good at their job from someone who is truly, truly great? Is it just about being the smartest person in the room, or is there something else, something more human going on? Today, we're going to dig into the critical and often invisible skills that really define excellence, especially in one of the most important jobs there is. Okay, so let's dive right in. To really understand what makes a teacher great, we first need to zoom out of it. We need a way to think about what makes anyone great at any job. And for that, we've got to talk about Harvard psychologist Howard Gardner. Now, you might know him for his famous theory of multiple intelligences, but for more than 30 years, he and his team went on this incredible mission. They interviewed over 1,000 professionals, doctors, lawyers, journalists, to boil down the essence of good work into this one simple, powerful idea. What they found is that true good work lives right at the intersection of these 3 E's. So first, you have to be excellent. You have to know your stuff, right? But that's not enough. The work also has to be engaging. It has to mean something to you personally. It has to get you out of bed in the morning. And finally, it has to be ethical. You need that moral compass guiding you to do the right thing for the greater good. It's when you have all 3 of those things working together, that's where the magic happens. Okay, so that's the big idea: excellence, engagement, and ethics. But how does this powerful framework connect to the incredibly complex, high-stakes world of teaching? Well, it turns out that for teachers, those 3 E's are powered by something deeper. Think of it like a foundational operating system. It's this underlying skill set that pretty much dictates how everything else in the classroom is going to run. And that operating system is called social emotional competence, or SEC for short. According to the groundbreaking pro-social classroom model from 2009, this is all about a teacher's ability to understand and manage their own inner world. It's the absolute bedrock that a supportive, effective classroom is built on. And this isn't some fuzzy, vague idea. It breaks down into 5 core skills. It all starts with the internal stuff: self-awareness, knowing your own feelings and triggers, and then self-management, so you can regulate your reactions. From there, it moves outward to social awareness, basically being able to read the room, and relationship management so you can build trust. And all of that comes together in responsible decision-making, especially in those tough, in-the-moment situations. But here's the thing about science, right? It's not enough to just have a great idea, you have to be able to measure it. So to prove this concept was for real, researchers launched this massive review to find the absolute best ways to assess a teacher's social-emotional competence. To do this, they cast a huge net. They pulled together nearly 3,000 studies that had been published since that first pro-social classroom model came out, almost 3,000. And from that giant pile, they started to filter. They were ruthless. They tossed out duplicates, studies that weren't based on real data, and anything that wasn't laser-focused on measuring teacher SEC in that specific framework. You could just see that funnel getting smaller and smaller. After all of that painstaking work, how many studies were left standing? Just 15. But look, that small number isn't a weakness. It's actually the whole point. It's proof of incredible scientific rigor. It confirms that these skills are not only real, but they're also measurable. All right, so the theory is solid, the science backs it up. Now let's get to the good stuff. How do these skills actually show up in the day-to-day life of a classroom? This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's one thing to talk about theories, but what does this look like on a rainy Tuesday morning when half the class is bouncing off the walls? The research points to these 4 key pillars. First up, inductive discipline. This is where, instead of just handing out punishments, you use discipline as a teaching moment to explain the why behind the rules. Second is praise, and not just any praise. It's about praising the person's character, like saying, "You are such a kind person," instead of just, "That was a kind thing to do." Third is actively building strong teacher-student relationships, creating that real sense of trust. And fourth, it's about creating an emotionally upbeat classroom, a place that's warm, welcoming, and where every kid feels like they belong. And listen, this isn't just some feel-good theory. This is a real quote from a real teacher who put these strategies to work. The results are concrete. We're talking better behavior, fewer disruptions, and way more time for actual learning. So we've seen what it looks like when things are working beautifully. But what happens when the system breaks down? When teachers don't have these skills, or maybe they don't have the support they need to use them? The consequences are, well, they're pretty severe. Let's just be really clear about something. Teaching is incredibly hard. It is a constant act of emotional labor. You're expected to manage your own stress, your own frustrations, all while helping dozens of kids navigate their own complex emotional worlds. Day after day, it is a perfect recipe for stress. And when that stress just goes on and on unmanaged, it can kick off what researchers call the burnout cascade. It's like a devastating domino effect. It starts with emotional exhaustion. You just feel completely and totally drained. That leads to depersonalization, where you start to feel cynical, detached from your students. And that all culminates in this deep feeling of a lack of accomplishment, where you just feel like you're not making a difference anymore. It's a truly heartbreaking downward spiral. And this cascade, it doesn't just hurt the teacher. It spills out and poisons the entire classroom. When a teacher is burned out, you see more disruptions, you see kids who are less engaged, and ultimately, you see more great teachers leaving the profession altogether. The whole school community suffers. Okay, so the stakes are obviously really, really high, which means we have to shift our focus. The question becomes, how do we stop this cascade before it even starts and proactively build up our teachers' well-being from the very beginning? The good news is the research gives us a really powerful toolkit. We're talking about things like mindfulness training and stress reduction programs to build that individual resilience. Peer support systems are also huge, creating a real community so teachers don't feel like they're on an island. And self-assessment tools that help them build that foundational skill of self-awareness. So, the ultimate goal here is to completely flip the script. We want to take that downward spiral of burnout and transform it into a virtuous, self-reinforcing cycle of well-being and success. And this is what that positive cycle looks like. It's beautiful. When we invest in a teacher's well-being, their social and emotional skills get stronger. That directly improves the entire classroom climate. And when the climate is positive and safe, student outcomes, both academic and social, get better. And you know what? When students are thriving, the teacher's own sense of satisfaction and accomplishment goes way up, which just fuels their well-being even more. It's this powerful, positive feedback loop, which really leaves us with this final, critical question. We've seen that a teacher's social-emotional competence isn't just some nice, soft skill. It is the fundamental operating system for a successful classroom. So if their well-being is truly the foundation for our kids' success, then how do we, as a society, as parents, as communities, start building that foundation as strong as it can possibly be?